Hello and welcome to the RevRx podcast, where we discuss all things faith, family, and health. My name is Chad Potts. I'm your host, and I'm so excited today about our very special guest, Dr. Robb Kelly. Now, Dr. Kelly is a world-renowned addiction specialist. He's a psychologist that holds 2 PhDs. He's a recovery coach, a life coach, an author, a speaker, and actually a recovered alcoholic himself. He has been highlighted on shows on major networks such as HBO, CNN, A&E, NBC, ABC, and Fox News. You may also know him from the show The Doctors, where he's made a guest appearance speaking about addiction and alcoholism. He's also an expert in the opioid crisis as well. He has founded a recovery business where he is using his over 20 years of expertise in helping people to harness the power of their brain, using brain science in order to help them overcome addiction, help them recover from past trauma, and help them to make positive and lasting changes in their lives. You're going to love Dr. Kelly. He is such a great speaker, has such a wonderful story, and he is an encouragement to each and every one of us. So I introduce to you my friend, Dr. Robb Kelly. What a privilege and honor it is to have you, Dr. Robb, as I believe you're affectionately known. But yes. Thanks for being here with us today.
Oh, thank you so much indeed. It's my pleasure. Can't wait for this one, guys. Hold on to your seats. It's coming.
So I love your story. And of course, you've written a book about it. And it's phenomenal. It's a story of triumph. It's a story of overcoming the odds and really losing everything and then gaining it all back again in a meaningful way. So can you start off our time together just sharing a little bit about your journey and how that has inspired you to become an addiction specialist that you're in currently?
So I grew up in Manchester, just in case you think I'm from North Texas, guys. I grew up in a little town called Manchester and in the UK. There was addiction and alcoholism in the family, but we never talked about it back then, so nobody really knew. So my first drink, I was a musician from an early age, 6, 7, 8, I was playing guitar. But at the age of 9, I got invited with my musical family to sit in the back on stage playing the bass guitar, which was a very big honor, but also very scary. So at the age of 9 in Liverpool, on a Saturday evening, I took my first drink of alcohol that my uncle gave me because I was nervous on stage with all these people watching. And I know now, but didn't know then, that sets off my alcoholic journey. Many years later, it came to fruition. So I played every Friday, Saturday nights, maybe Sundays, and had a little beer every time I did it. And then as the years went by, I went to normal school. I was lucky enough to go to university. Still drinking weekends, sometimes during the week, especially at university. And then left university, became a police officer. I only lasted there 8 months, let's say, and they fired me because I was drunk every day. I was turning up for work drunk, and somebody spotted this, so I was fired. Shame on the family.
Wow.
Now, the crazy thing is I wasn't embarrassed for my family or guilty or shameful about the drinking or being fired, but he called me an alcoholic. He said, I think you're an alcoholic, you have problems. So that really upset me because I've seen alcoholics. I wasn't
Sure.
one of those.
Yeah, don't lump me with those guys, right?
Oh, of course not. It was crazy. But as time went on, I met a girl, got married, started a business, did pretty good. I had 2 children. And then after the first child, it all started to go wrong. But I didn't notice, of course, because we're always the last to know with situations like this. It was mayhem, and finally I lost my children, lost my cars, wife, houses, and moved in with my parents for about a week, and they saw the extent of my alcoholism. So from there, I went to friends for a few days, from friends to acquaintances, and then finally from acquaintances to the streets, which was a shock. So I was homeless, and they were some horrible days for 14 months.
And so that kind of, your experience with that led you down the journey that you're in now. Can you tell us a little bit about your unique approach and how you help others who are undergoing addiction and helping them to be able to be fully recovered?
Yeah, well, it all started on the streets where I can't understand why I wasn't given treatment for this rather than a treatment center. You go in for 30 days, you come out, you relapse. It's the same scenario. But so I was intrigued what was going on here. And I swore if I ever got off the streets, I'd spend the rest of my life working with alcoholics, addicts. So if I was going to say, I am straightforward with this disease. I've seen too many people die from lack of knowledge of what we're dealing with here, because alcoholism, it's not about alcohol has nothing to do with alcoholism. Probably 1%. It's like the spots to the chicken pots. It's nothing to do with the disease. So it's not the alcohol. It's the thinking. It's how can we get around it? So I'm very adamant, very blunt. I will throw you out my office. I will fire you on the spot. If I need to shout and scream, I will. If I need to sit down next to you, hold you while you cry, I will. But I don't have a filter when it comes to this, because it ripped my family apart. And I've seen it rip thousands. I've worked with about 8,000 people now over 30 years. So the techniques, we have a 97% success rate. The nearest one to us is 13%, I believe.
That's incredible.
We're using neuroscience. We're using brain spotting. We're using somatic experience. We're using anything that we can to spot behavior and to spot mindset. So we're not the conventional, let's teach you about relapse prevention. Let's stick you in a treatment plan for 30 days and shield you from the problems in alcohol. We don't do that. We're looking at the disease, not the person. Because it's a huge difference.
And the results speak for themselves. You don't get those kind of numbers really with any other treatment system.
You don't. And that's all about being adamant, sticking to my guns, because first of all, Chad, the medical fraternity tried to destroy me.
Yeah.
People laughed at our methods. I was discredited. I was taken into the psychology board and I was stripped of my license, because of what I was practicing. And that was okay, but we knew we were onto something. So if entrepreneurs out there, you stick to what you know and believe in, because now I lecture for these doctors in medical universities. I lecture at huge universities about alcoholism and addiction.
Wow.
Because I was onto something and I knew that it worked and I wasn't going anywhere, despite most people trying to take me down. And I stayed and people started to get well, Chad, and I knew that we could change the world. And sure. That's what this company's been all about, is changing the world one person at a time.
A lot of the stuff that you're really renowned for, thinking about neuroplasticity and a lot of the adaptations of the brain. Take us through a little bit, if you don't mind, of just that mindset shift that needs to happen to make big changes in our life, whether it be addiction related or whether it be just, to improve our quality of life, to improve our overall health. What needs to change, and how might we go about that?
Beautiful. Great question. I've been dying to answer that for years. Nobody's asked me that. So thank you, Chad, for asking that on this podcast. You go into the supermarket now and you pick anything like a nutrition bar, 9 grams of protein or whatever. Turn it around, see what's on the back. There's red colors, there's yellow colors, there's oils, there's all sorts of bad stuff for us. So 90% of the stuff we eat, and I was never an organic kind of person, but when we studied more of what we eat, we realized it was making us sick.
Yes.
Most of the stuff that we eat on a daily basis, we cannot methylate properly in our body. So when we look at diseases today in the United States, you've heard it all the time. People go, oh, well, my dad had heart problems. It's in the family. So I have heart problems. My mom had inflammation of the knee and it's an impossibility. You cannot pass heart problems down to your children. Right. You can't do it. But what happens is we look at what parents are eating and the environment they're in, and we do that exactly the same. So what happens is certain products that we eat is the same that the parents eat. So we then suffer from heart problems. That's how it goes. Sure. So when we look at the food industry, it's killing us. I mean, it's killing. Look at McDonald's fries. Not the healthiest fries, but listen, in England, there's 3 ingredients in McDonald's fries. Yeah. In America, there are 17. Okay. So you're going to look at that straight away. So you go to the doctor and let's say because you're eating this food or the environment, you feel depressed. So you go to the doctor. I'm depressed. No problems. The doctor said, take these pills and you'll feel happy again.
Sure.
Okay. I take the pills. I kind of feel happy again. One question I want to ask the medical fraternity. So why isn't anybody asking before I go to the doctors why my serotonin is low in the first place? Question, guys. Have you ever taken a pill from the doctor that's cured you so you'd never have to take it again? And the answer is no.
So thinking of addiction, how how do you approach some of the stigmas, some of the misconceptions around addiction with what you do, and then really thinking on a larger level, what can we do as a society to kind of step in and normalize this recovery process?
When we look at alcoholism, so when we look at a disease, we understand it. It should be treated more like cancer or whatever. When people are sick, you go around with flowers, everyone feels sorry for them, and they celebrate if there's a remission. But with alcoholics, you don't. You get looked down. We have to start accepting that it is a disease and it's involuntary.
Yeah.
Now, the stigma around that, every single person that I hire is a recovered alcoholic or recovered addict. Because when we recover, something amazing happens. We become geniuses. We're always geniuses, but because of the overthinking and, the crazy behavior, it's taken us down a notch. But when we come back and fully recovered from that stuff, they make the best employees, the best fathers, the best sister, all that great stuff happens. And they're my kind of people. And to cap it all as well, we're the only people, if you think about it, Chad, we're the only people that get 2 lives in one lifetime.
That's right. Yeah.
We get the first one, we messed up terribly, absolutely messed up, and we get a second shot at it. Now, with your second shot, what have you got to lose? I have a connection with God today. Mm-hmm. I've seen that when I was on the streets, God saved me, and I hated that word because I was molested as a child from a vicar, a priest. So yeah, I mean, life is amazing today when you understand what you're going through, because there's a big misconception out there. 90% of people do not know what alcoholism or addiction is.
Sure. And, and I see that from a couple of different perspectives personally, both from a pastoral perspective and then also from a healthcare perspective. There is a lot of misconception, misunderstanding about the disease. And I love that you call it a disease because it is. And, you're right. When we stereotype it, when we stigmatize it, it creates almost an environment to where a lot of people don't want to reach out for help or don't feel that they can reach out for help for fear that they're going to be ostracized or whatever. And so I love that we're having this conversation, that we're trying to normalize this process and help people understand, because I think knowledge is power. The more we know, the better decisions we can make and the better we can become as human beings. And I also love that you employ only people who understand the process. There's something to be said for empathy. And I'm a big believer in a lot of the things we go through in life. We're able to use that down the road to help other people be delivered from what we've been delivered from. And it sounds like your strategy is similar to that, and you've got tremendous results from that. So
100%. If you haven't been through it, especially the side of addiction that I've seen, you cannot treat anybody. Now, I've been to college for 5 years and I know no, I'm sorry. No. It's a bit like you're going to work, when I was trained as a mechanic, but you go to a pharmacist to do that.
Right. Yeah.
You have to have gone through it, because I was searching for a therapist when I came to San Antonio 4 years ago, because I see one. It's healthy to see one once a month. But I would go into therapists and the first question I would ask them is, are you addicted, or are you past alcohol problems? And most of them said no. And I said, I'm sorry, you can't help me. And one lady said, I beg to differ. I've got a master's in addiction. And I said, yeah, but you don't understand addiction. And she said, well, I beg to differ again. I do. I said, okay, here's a scenario. You have a bottle of vodka behind your back and I want a drink and you won't give me that vodka. So when I stab you in the face 10 times to get it, whoa! Exactly. Now I went into another therapist a couple of weeks later, an old lady, ex-heroin addict, didn't know at the time. And I explained this situation. She said, yeah, I do exactly the same. And I stab you in the stomach as well. You're my girl.
That's right.
You cannot pass it on because you do not know how we think.
Yeah.
Some of the things we do are absurd. You see, when I was on the streets, Chad, I hated everything. I hated God, I hated people. I just wanted to die. 7 attempts, twice I died on the street, suicide. Right. When you go through that, I look back now at my 14 months homelessness as a semester at Harvard University. Because I met doctors, I met priests, I met scientists, I met mechanics on the streets. It's like, you have to go through that. You really do. Crazy thing is, Chad, is I could retire tomorrow. I could buy an island probably, and I could never see anybody ever again. and just enjoy the wealth I have and stuff like that. But there's a couple of things that people need to know about me. Is, first of all, my feet are always in the trenches. There's no doubt. You can call me. I'll leave my phone number at the end. You can call me, not the staff, not reset. You can call me if you're almost about to die of this stuff. And secondly, 25% of our work is pro bono. Always somebody has to all therapists have to carry a pro bono. And the other thing people don't know about me is me and my wife, we have the Robb Kelly Foundation that's just started a month ago. But before that, me and my wife give $150,000 back every year to people that were suffering. So no, I will never retire. And no, I will never stop taking pro bonos. There is a waiting list, but this is not about the money. And so some people that have just started, it might sound obnoxious to say that, but money doesn't make you happy. I tried buying all that nice stuff that I could never afford. I was still miserable. So what gives me pleasure today is helping people, not only as a business, but helping another human being when you get on and go, Dr. Robb, it's amazing, but I can't afford it.
Yeah.
You know, what we're going to do, because that's what gifts. I gift everybody monetary when I leave the house because God's gave it to me. It's not my money. I can give away. That's the deal today for me. I get to see movie stars, all that stuff on a daily basis that I work with. But what gives me the most pleasure is driving back by a gas station and seeing, a mother with 5 kids in the back trying to squeeze out $10 worth of gas. Yeah. And I can call in there and I can gift it with $100. And to see that look on that person's face, that's why I get up every morning.
Well, and that's what drew me to you, Dr. Robb, is that you're really living a life of abundance. And you're embracing your purpose, your God-given purpose. You're living abundantly. There's this scarcity mindset that we must hold on to everything that we have because there's only so much of it. And you're one of the people that I've come across that you really understand what it means to live abundantly. And it's not just taking. It's the majority of it is giving. And what an inspiring story that is that you're living out day to day. So
every single person can change their life. You just don't know how powerful a mind is. But if you're not giving back on a daily basis, whether that be your time, whether it be money, whatever else, then what are you doing? So there's this story that I love, Chad, and there's a guy that walked to the Golden Gate Bridge and threw himself off, committed suicide and died. And when they fished him out, they went back to his apartment to see next of kin. But while they were there, they found a letter on the table, kitchen table, and it read, I'm going to walk to the Golden Gate Bridge and I'm going to throw myself off and commit suicide unless somebody on the way there says hello, nods at me, smiles at me. Let me ask you a question, guys.
Well,
how many people have you walked past today heading to the Golden Gate Bridge? You see, you never know how you can affect somebody. If we just have more love in this world, oh my goodness.
Let me take a little bit of a curve. So there's this new concept. It's not new, but it's been newly discussed around food addiction, particularly with the obesity epidemic that we're seeing. What are your thoughts on that? From someone who's an expert in brain science, what's your thoughts on food addiction?
Well, I'll lead by saying that I just lost 153 pounds in the last 18 months. So, and I was 350 pounds and now 200 pounds.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And yes, it is an addiction, but it's the same as drug addiction. You can't just get up one day and go, that's it, I'm done. You really got to look at the psychological effect. You've got to look at childhood trauma. You got to look at the reward system as a child. So when we were angry or when we were a mess, mom used to give me chocolate to keep me quiet. What does that tell me? Not only is it a dopamine fix at an early age, but it tells me that if I do something good, I'll get food. Yes. So as I grow up, food becomes a primary source of me being happy. So when the addiction happens around food, even though it's killing us, it makes us feel secure. It makes us find our comfort zone and we stay there. It's like behavioral. When people are in marriages that don't work, women tend to stay in, especially if there's addiction involved, in the relationships way too long. Yeah. And we do that with food, even though it hurts us. So there's a story back in the 60s that I love. A girl got snatched off the side of the road, schoolgirl, massive hunt, can't find her. 9 months later, police car followed another car down a country road. Broken light, pulls him over. It was back in the 60s, remember? So the way they used to check if it's your car, not stolen, what do you have in the trunk? I have a yellow jacket, pair of boots. Open it up, it's your car, off you go. This guy they pulled over was hesitant, so they opened the trunk and there was a stolen screwdriver. So then they went back to their house. They were allowed to search their house, and sure enough, drills, lawnmowers, he's stolen all his stuff. But you see a box in the corner, probably 4 foot high by 12 foot wide, and he said, what's in the box? We know there's more stolen stuff, you know, because you're a thief. And he smashed the lock open, and there was the girl that went missing 9 months before. When the policewoman went down to this girl, she was alive. She was battered and bruised, but she was alive. She helped the little girl outside the box. She took her coat off. She put it around the girl. What's the first thing she did? She got back in the box. That's what we do with addiction. That's what we do with food. That's what we do with porn, because it becomes our comfort zone, even though it's painful. Yeah. Even though I'm eating that stuff I shouldn't be eating. Let's not even talk about the sugar involved. The biggest killer of human beings on its own is the sugar. And you'll be surprised how we consume the sugar without knowing. It's like if you get a teaspoon and you count out 9 spoonfuls, that's what you're getting in one little can of Coca-Cola. Right. So yeah, we get in that mindset. And the only way to change it, I found, was to change the mindset, using neuroscience about what's actually going on. You've always got to see what's going on behind what's going on. Yeah. So the only way I look at that is if I have chicken pox, you see the spots all over me. Hey, you got chicken pox. How do you know? See the spots. Well, actually, that's a symptom. I also have a viral infection that can kill me as an adult, but we don't see that. Sure. We don't see the food. We don't see the alcohol. We just see, you know, the symptom. And like I say, it is a psychological problem that the mind and the brain, and you can't do it on your own, guys, but you can be cured of that. 100% cured. There's no cure for alcoholism, but there is for any other addiction. That's what I believe in our records state. But again, you need to find out what's really going on. And one of them is, if you get a reward when you're a kid, you've got to look at that effect on the adult today, because to put the two together is very hard. But once you do, it becomes very easy to control the addiction.
Learned behavior is very hard to unlearn. But I do believe it's possible. And
it is 100%, because early learned behavior and enmeshment from parents run our lives, because it becomes a working part of the mind. Yeah. So the basal ganglia is our repetition, strength, and confirms. Let's say a pilot needs 10,000 hours in the air. Let's imagine the basal ganglia is a clock. And when it goes round, get 10,000 out. Now I can do it without even thinking. I can do it. I don't even have to think about it's easy. It's like when you're driving, you first get in a car, it's like a Mini. It seems so big and it's so awkward. After a few weeks or months, you can reverse down the driveway, speak to your girlfriend, doing a text, waving to your mum, listening to music. It's second nature. And that is what learned behavior is.
We live in a world that says there's a pill for that. And from a pharmacist's perspective, okay, you know, there's a role for some medications.
Yes.
But there's not a pill for everything. And a lot of times that's the easy button. That's the path of least resistance. I don't have to change. I don't have to do the hard work if I can just take this pill. But what we'll find is that doing that hard work, getting to the root of the problem, making those mindset shifts, that's where the magic happens, because that pill's not going to change you. You have to change you from the inside out. And
now, let me put a disclaimer in there, obviously, for both of us, is there are medication you need to take. You stay on that. I'm not a medical doctor.
Yeah, sure.
You know, there's chemical imbalances that causes depression. You know, you stay on that. That's whatever you need to do, you need to do. But I'm talking about the normal person who finds himself in a situation is rather go and grab the pharmaceutical medication, try and seek out other methods. And if that fails, then go. Because I know with addiction as a whole, my brain doesn't know the difference between a street drug and a pharmaceutical drug. So when we're sticking kids on Adderall, which changes neural pathways and mindset in itself, how do we expect to get well? I'm not a great ADHD guy. I don't think it's an attention deficit. I think it's an attention overload with ADHD. You know, I mean, question everything, but we love loads of medication, you know, that are really, really good. Yeah. But I'm saying, rather than run to a doctor who really doesn't have you, and it's not the doctor's fault. They got 7 minutes to see you. What are they going to do? I've got time to sit down. Remember the psychiatrist years ago, Chad? They sit down and chat with you for an hour. Yeah. You know, they don't anymore. Yeah. You walk in, they don't even look up. They're like, oh, your attention, you can't concentrate. Let Adderall bump. Oh, where you go? 2 minutes in, 2 minutes out. What's that done to that kid or that adult? You've just changed his whole structure of the brain to want more and more and more.
Right. And so a lot of what I like to bring to these podcasts is just it's knowledge. It's self-awareness. We're not trying to guilt anyone here, but we're trying to make you more aware, allow you to kind of think for yourself and be able to be the master of your own health. I'm a big believer that no one is going to look after your well-being like you.
No.
So
that's, do you know what? That is just such a great statement. Absolute. I get people all the time coming to me and go, hey, listen, I've been on, blah, blah, blah for like 6 years is for depression. And my answers or the question is this: when did you think it was going to kick in?
Yeah.
Because it obviously hasn't kicked in yet because you're still miserable.
Right.
You're still miserable, but yeah, totally agree.
Well, how much fun this has been, Dr. Robb. I've really enjoyed our time. Great conversation, and hopefully we can continue this one down the road. Hey, if people want to learn more about you, where can they find you? What resources do you have available for some of my listeners?
So if you're just listening and not watching this, I spell my name with 2 B's, ROBBKELOY.com. Jump on there. We're not selling our services. You can't buy them, got to earn them. Don't, unless you're really desperate, and I'll tell you about that in a second. So we're not here to sell our services, and we're not even to sell the books. You go find it if you want it. The RobbKellyFoundation.org. Give us $1. We're different. Sally will give us $10, and we use that $10 to help somebody. You'll get an email off that person telling you where that $10 went to. Not 6, because we've taken our part. There's no money earned in the RobbKellyFoundation.org.
That's great.
Any search engine, put Dr. Robb Kelly and come and find us. But what I want to add before I go is this. If you're in that position that Chad and I just talked about, the depressive state, maybe suicidal, you sat at home, all the family's left, 214-600-0210 is my personal cell phone number. It's not my assistant, it's my receptionist, it's my personal. Now, text me, and I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll text you back immediately if I'm not on with a patient, but I will arrange to give you a 15 to 20 minute pep talk that will change your life.
Wow.
And if it doesn't, guys, I will send you $100 for wasting your time, because here's the deal. I would rather spend 20 minutes of my time on the phone with you, helping another human being, than hear of your suicide next week.
Wow. Well, thank you, Dr. Robb. You are a gift to mankind. We're so glad that you have overcome, that you are giving back, and what a pleasure it is to have you on our show today. So,
thank you so much indeed. Great to see you guys.
Thank you for listening to the RevRx podcast. We hope you enjoyed what you heard today, and if so, we'd love it if you would hit that subscribe button so that you'll never miss a new episode from us. Also, feel free to leave us reviews and comments, as we'd love to hear from you. Be blessed and be the very best you.